everybody, and welcome to this special fat loss and mindset webinar. I've got a very special guest on today, and we are going to cover a lot of questions that have come in and answer them in detail. And we've put together kind of like a little presentation to cover a lot of areas. So here's the thing: over the past 10 years or so that I've been in the industry, I have noticed sort of many different trends and traits in human behavior. And especially my special interest is actually the reasons why women fail miserably at getting a body transformation. And we're going to kind of dive into that today and dig out some more details. So here's the thing: a lot of women tend to succeed in the short term. They might do a 3-week detox or a 6-week program, but I'm far more interested in where that person is going to be 6 months or even 6 years down the line. So a long term and a life changing and a life enhancing change and confidence building in a client just requires so much commitment from the client, feeding back to the trainer. And one thing as trainers that we require is that trust from our clients and the ability for you to talk to us. And it also obviously includes a really good understanding of behavioral psychology from the trainer. So aside from all things health and fitness, for those of you who don't know, I actually also have another passion. And one of my things for this year is to actually combine my two passions. And so aside from health and fitness, my other passion is chasing life. So yes, I travel a lot. I built a business that I love. I seek out new things. I chase new experiences. I like to talk to new people. I long for going to the places that I don't yet know. And let's be honest, I do love a glass of red wine. And the most important thing here to realize is that whereas this seems like an amazing thing to do, it's also not easy. And it's not easy, but at the same time, what would be more scary to me and more difficult for me would be being in a job that I hate, being stuck in a certain place or time and stuck in a grind in a 9 to 5. And granted, I'm now completely unemployable. And so this is a real passion of mine, and it's something that, through the years, I have encouraged my clients to do the same, and that's like chasing life. So here's the thing: one of the reasons that I fully believe that I've been successful as a fat loss coach is to show somebody what they're capable of, and get them to sort of realize their potential and grow their confidence, and basically give them permission to go and chase their dreams. And this is how Chase Life was born, my new program. But the other side of it is that when you're in a really good place mentally, it is so much easier to change your body. And this is often what a lot of women are battling with. They're really struggling with the mindset side of things. And actually, they think that they're struggling with their training, or they think they're struggling with their nutrition. But if they just got their mindset right and tweaked a few little things in how they think and how they talk to themselves, it would make a big difference. So all that being said, I have teamed up with resident Athletic Fox mindset expert and my co-director at Chase Life, David Godfrey, to talk about the real reasons why women struggle to get in shape. So hello.
Hello.
So what are we going to talk about today?
There's a number of things that will be hot topics in this particular area in terms of creating a physical change in someone, because fundamentally it's about driving behavior. Driving behavior comes from people's mindset and the way they think, the way they feel, and their actions and reactions to what happens in life. And there's a number of things that people are doing that they don't even know that they're doing. So there's 6 broad areas that I wanted to go through today that I think are of particular importance and particular value to people. So the first is that people don't actually know what they want. They think they know what they want, but what they really know is what they don't want. So that's one area. Another one is that they don't believe in themselves, or they certainly have very limiting beliefs in terms of what they're capable of and what's possible in the future. Another one is that they don't have a purpose, and purpose gives you meaning. So if you don't really have a strong purpose in life, you don't know what you're here for, and your reason for being, then that can spiral into all kinds of things that limit the goals that you chase. Another very simple one, certainly simple on face value, is that people are massively disorganized, and time management of both your physical goals and the rest of your life is crucial to building the body that you want. And then we've got the fact that, and this is a massive one, the fact that people heavily rely on changing their state and changing how they feel through external means. So what I mean by that is people find themselves going into upsetting or challenging emotions or states of mind. And this might just be something as simple as boredom, perhaps. But people are changing their state using things like drugs, alcohol, food, and so on, as a means of changing their state. And if you're dependent on those things in order to make yourself feel good or comfortable or happy in some way, then inevitably you're not going to be able to hit your goals. And then finally, another big one is that people's lives are completely out of balance. And it's interesting to notice how somebody's pursuit of a physical or health goal can be hampered by them neglecting a completely different area of their life, and it might be their relationships or their career or something else, but ultimately it will circle all the way back around and impact everything else in their life. So those are kind of the key big topics that I think we need to go into today.
Cool. So, like, let's start from the beginning. People don't know what they want. And one of the common things that we both hear as trainers is the phrase, I'm just stuck. I've plateaued. I don't have the motivation. I just need more accountability. Is that true?
So at, at times, accountability can be a big factor that helps people to move forwards. But one of the interesting things with anybody that's stuck, when you ask them what they want, they will almost always answer in terms of what they don't want and what they don't like and what they're trying to escape. So in in certain areas of psychology, this is known as a positively or negatively phrased language. Towards and away from language is a much more useful way of describing it, I find. So people are describing what they don't want. So they're saying things like, I don't want my gut to hang over my belt, my shirt to feel so tight. I don't like the fact that I feel so self-conscious when I'm out with my friends, and I don't like the way that I feel like food controls me, or that I don't have control over how I am around food, and I don't want to feel so stressed. So they've basically listed a whole bunch of stuff they don't want, but they've no idea what they actually do want instead. And this is a fundamental thing that underlies pretty much all personal change. Whenever somebody has something that they don't like and that they don't want, it's important to get them to identify a clear target that they need to move towards and to hit instead, and particularly in terms of how they want to feel. And this might be, they might be chasing a physical goal because ultimately they want to feel differently at the end of it. They want to feel sexy, or they want to feel wanted by their partner, or they want to feel important in some way. But they're chasing a physical goal because of how they think it's going to make them feel at the end of it. And so it's important to get them to identify exactly what it is that they actually want. So it's useful to identify what is it you want to add more of in your life. What do you want to have more of, feel more of, experience more of, do more of, create more of? What do you want to add in your life? And once you get clear on that, things start to become a lot easier.
Yeah, that's cool. And on the flip side of that, though, when we start asking people what exactly it is that they want, they still come back with a negative, and they'll say something around the lines of, "I want to have more control over food."
Yeah, so control is kind of a sneaky one. When people say they want control, there are a few words that are sneaky away from words. So a good example that helps to make this clearer is bravery. So bravery at first sounds like a positive thing that you want to have more of in your life, but when do you need to be brave? You need to be brave when there's a fear of something going wrong, or there's some kind of danger that you're trying to escape. So bravery can be a bit of a sneaky away from, and control is a little bit like that as well. When people talk about wanting control in their life, what they're really looking for is choice and the ability to exert their power of choice in different situations, because you can choose to eat the eat the chocolate cake, or you can choose to eat something completely different, or you can choose to do something completely different and not eat at all. And it's important that people recognize the choices that they have and feel like they have the freedom to be able to make those choices in line with what they really want, which is driving it in the first place.
So when you have set goals with somebody and they're great goals, and it might be that I want to feel more calm and assertive, I want to have more joy and happiness in my life. The next thing that we have to get to is we have to get the client, we have to get you to actually believe that you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely a fundamental thing behind all success is beliefs, is whether somebody actually believes that they can do it or not. And beliefs are kind of like the commanders of the brain. So when we congruently believe that something's true, it's kind of like delivering a command to your brain as to how to represent what's occurring. So when they're handled effectively, beliefs can be the most powerful forces for creating good in your life. They're kind of like the compass and maps that guide us towards our goals and give us certainty that we'll actually get there. And they energize you to go out there and go for it and to pursue your goals with absolute gusto. And to give it absolutely 100%. But on the other hand, beliefs that limit your actions and thoughts can be as devastating as resourceful beliefs can be empowering. So if you don't believe at your very core that you're going to succeed at what it is that you're pursuing, then at some point you're going to ask yourself, what's the point? And if you don't have an immediate and powerful response to that question, then you're inevitably going to sabotage your progress.
And so let's talk about some common negative beliefs or patterns that sort of people get themselves into. One of them might be, well, I'm always going to be overweight because my parents were overweight, and my siblings are overweight, so therefore I'm always going to be overweight, and I'm always going to, I'm prone to anxiety and depression because it runs in the family.
Right. So those would be very interesting and clear limiting beliefs for us to challenge. So there are a number of exercises that we can take people through to get them to identify and notice how subtle beliefs can be behind the scenes. So, for example, we might ask somebody, is the following statement true or false? 2 + 2 equals 4 and it's an easy sum. And a lot of people go, yeah, that's true. But then the fact that we've added it's an easy sum makes it a belief because that's a subjective statement. The fact that it's easy or difficult is subjective to the user or to the experiencer. So when we look at beliefs like I'll always be overweight or anxiety runs in the family, now that's a belief. It's not a fact. It's a belief because effectively what this person is saying is that they have absolutely no understanding of what it is that creates anxiety in the first place. They believe that anxiety is something that you have as opposed to something that you do. So one of the fundamental things that we teach is that emotions and states are and feelings are they're the end product of an activity. You have to actively engage in a particular process in order to create that feeling. So, as an example, right now, you're probably not feeling significant amount of anxiety. But if I told you that there was a gunman behind you with a gun pointed at your head and you turned around and that was true, you'd probably start to feel a lot of anxiety at that moment. But you can't feel the anxiety without thinking about the gunman and the consequences of why he's there and, oh my God, what if he pulls the trigger and so on. So those thoughts create the feeling of anxiety. So these are some of the very basic kind of basic introductory level things that we teach to people where we can start to get them to break down their beliefs. But ultimately, yeah, those kinds of beliefs, beliefs like I'll always be overweight, which many people develop those kinds of beliefs through a series of failed attempts. So the brain is very good at generalizing and making quick and rapid generalizations because that's a neurological shortcut in the brain that helps us to make decisions very rapidly in the future. So, for example, back when we were hunter gatherers, and if you encountered a dangerous wild animal, and perhaps it bit you, or you had some kind of unpleasant interaction with it, then your brain's just going to generalize that avoid all of those, and those animals are dangerous. So we don't need to analyze any future situations with that particular animal. We just know immediately run away. And so historically, creating rapid generalizations kept us alive and it helped us to survive in the wild. But our brains can make generalizations too rapidly about things that aren't true. So somebody might try a particular means for losing weight. So perhaps they go on a juice fast or something ridiculous like that. And so they go through the obvious pattern that everybody does where they lose weight rapidly, then they put it all on again with interest. And so they get really disappointed with themselves. So then they try something else and they try another a popular diet, whatever it is, but it's a short-term one or it's an extreme one. Perhaps they go on a very low-calorie diet, or perhaps they completely cut out carbs, or they completely cut out fat, or whatever it is. And inevitably, they lose a bit of weight and then they rebound again. And so they go through a few of these experiences, and their brain starts to generalize, and it starts to make attach meanings to those events. And maybe it means that I'll always be overweight. And they don't realize that this is just the brain's best guess. It's just an estimation. They don't realize that actually the reason why they didn't maintain any weight loss is because they were using very flawed approaches and very flawed techniques. But the problem is that once you have that kind of belief, when you try, let's say that you have that belief already in place, and then you come across a program that actually is a very good, very effective program. It's a great diet, it's a great exercise regime, it's very sustainable, it doesn't have any extreme methods, but you have a belief now that maybe you're just supposed to be overweight. How committed are you going to be to that program? When you come up against the inevitable obstacles and setbacks and plateaus that you get on any program like this, how are you going to react to that if you have that kind of belief? Chances are you're just going to sabotage your progress and you're going to go, well, I'm meant to be overweight anyway, and you'll just go back to your old ways. So it's absolutely critical that people identify their limiting beliefs and break through them for them to get long-term success.
I think that's a gold piece of information there about limiting beliefs, particularly if you have been a program hopper in the past. It's something that I'm particularly aware of, and I'm particularly keen on talking about. And if you're in the Aesthetic Fox Blueprint and you're in the forum and you feel like you feel that this resonates with you, like, talk to us, because we'd love to help you further. And I'm very aware that it's something that is very, very common. So let's have a look at, like, you don't have a purpose. Like, a lot of people go through life, I guess, just existing and not living, and yet alone living a happy, healthy, and a fulfilled life. Life is so fast paced, and it's so easy to just kind of go through the grind. And okay, it's another Monday, and next thing you know, it's Friday, and it's pizza night, and we live through the weekend. It might be January, and then next thing you know, it's like freaking September, and life is literally just passing you by. How do we combine all of these so that you actually start to have a purpose? Because after working with a lot of women, they don't necessarily have like this big like dream and this like life vision and this purpose. So in my opinion, the way that I see it is, if you don't have, it's like having a roadmap, right? You know where your end destination is, and so you plug it into your GPS and off you go. And all right, you might get a little bit lost along the way, but that's what success is. It's never just sort of one straight road from A to Z. It's kind of like a bit of a squiggly line. But if you don't have an overriding purpose, in which direction do you go?
Yeah, well, people kind of get stuck in what's stuck by their limiting beliefs. They get stuck in particular areas of life based on what they think they should be doing or what society has kind of shoehorned them into. But if you think back to what it's like being a kid, and most people have the experience when they're in their childhood of you know what excites you when you're a child. You know what you're excited about. You know what you can't wait to do, and what you want to spend more of your time doing. But then gradually over time, we have these limitations put on us, and people start chipping away at that, and they say, well, you can't do that, and And well, if you want to do that, then that's going to be really hard work. It might be a better option for you to have a safe, stable career or something like that. Basically, things get put in place to hold your dreams back, as it were. And a lot of people, if they think back to when they were in their early teens, they knew what they wanted to be, and people want to be astronauts and big things like that. And but then later on, they get a qualification, and then they pick a career that is just a natural progression from that qualification. And it's very normal for when we're growing up and going through our studies and so on, that we don't really know what we want to do with our lives. That's a common thing for a lot of people. A lot of people take a while for them to realize what it is that they want to be doing with their time and with their life. And that's okay. But we get qualifications in many situations purely as a means to proving that we have the ability to stick to something long term and to deliver results on something, and that we have a certain level of intelligence. But just because you graduate in a particular field doesn't necessarily mean that you need a job in that field. But a lot of people get very limited in terms of what they want to be doing with their career. And this is just career we're talking about. This isn't even exploring other things beyond that in terms of contributing to society on a larger scale, or simply just becoming a parent or a mother or a father. So people, basically the message that I'm saying is, people allow life to get in the way. They get caught up in the day-to-day, the routine, mundane things of paying the bills and taking the trash out, and they forget to live their life. They forget to remember what it is that excites them and what they really want to be doing more of. And so it's important to actually spend some time connecting with that, with your passions, and if you're not entirely sure what those are, to explore life. We have this life. It's there for chasing. You can do anything with it, and it's time to go out there and explore it and find out the things that float your boat.
And just to kind of like relate this back to fat loss, if you don't have a purpose, it's so easy to slip into destructive states, and such as depression, anxiety, low self-esteem. And frequently we see then the coping strategies of people just trying to run away from their life because they're not enjoying it. And this is where we see emotional eating, working excessively, spending long hours in your office. It could include alcohol, drugs, and everything else. So and this all relates back to being healthy. So there is so much more to fat loss than just calories and macros and training. And that's really where, particularly where Athletic Fox is going now in the future, is to make sure that, we have like an all-inclusive way at looking things to basically create a really happy, healthy, and confident individual. So let's be honest here, you're disorganized. So this is a really simple one to fix. And there's a lot to these points that we've covered today. And some of these things it can be hard to get through without a coach and a mentor and somebody to guide you. But the reality is that if we're looking at your organization skills, really time management of both your physical goals and the rest of your life, it's critical to building the body that you want. I mean, I've been a trainer for over 10 years. David, I know you have too. Like, how many times have you had to plan and organize and go through sort of strategic planning with your clients because they're disorganized?
Yeah, it's a fundamental part of it. It is so important, but there's activities that need to be consistently hit and scheduled. If we're purely looking at fat loss and physical transformations like fat loss, then you need to do your food shopping, you need to do your food prep, you need to eat your meals, and you need to do your training. And every single one of those things needs to be scheduled into your diary on a daily and weekly basis. And it sounds so trivial, and it sounds so basic and simplistic to be talking about just getting your diary organized, but it is ridiculous how many people are leaving progress on the table because they're failing to get themselves sorted. They're failing to organize themselves, and they're leaving things to the last minute, or they're delegating, or they just don't like doing it, so they put it off and they procrastinate on it. But it's interesting to recognize that the level of success that somebody achieves in any area of their life, um, whether it's a physical transformation or their career or relationships or whatever it is, that the level of success that you're able to achieve is in large part dependent on your ability to handle more and to take on more and to cope with more in life generally. And one of the big things for coping with more is to be organized. The better you get yourself organized in terms of time management, getting effective and efficient systems in place that take the thinking and the hard work out of it, those things massively reduce your stress. So getting organized is basically a stress management tool. And stress inevitably is going to have a detrimental effect on any fat loss program in the same way that, when people lack purpose in their life, that also creates stress. So when somebody's stressed, they will firstly have coping mechanisms that they will often go to as a means of handling their stress. So they're feeling stressed, they're feeling anxious, they don't like to feel that way, and they know that one of the fastest ways to change their state is by changing their biochemistry. So when you eat something, you change your biochemistry, you feel differently, and you get emotionally rewarded for it. So that's a coping mechanism that a lot of people have taken on when they're in a place of stress. So just as when somebody doesn't have a purpose in life, and it's the same as when they're disorganized, both of those things increase stress. And obviously then there's the other things that stress does to your body that can hamper fat loss as well, in terms of the hormonal changes and the environment within your body that then make further fat loss attempts that much more difficult.
So I'm just basically going to put a shameless plug in here. So if you're not already in my Athletic Fox Blueprint, if you're a lady, there is very simple food prep guidelines in there, which we include batch cooking and slow cooking and so forth. And if your husband is looking for a very similar plan, David's program, DXG Shred 56, is a male fat loss program. They're actually very much designed in a very similar manner with very similar cooking methods, to make things very easy. So you're actually just cooking once a day and with minimal prep time and actually minimal mess as well. I myself am a notoriously lazy person when it comes to food prep. I know David is too. So we've done our best to kind of put what we do on paper and really help you from a busyness perspective. So basically just cutting out as much time for you as we possibly can. So moving on, like I think this is the biggest one of all. Another reason why women fail to get the body they want, and the reasons why they're still not in shape, is they rely on external state management. This is a big topic.
Yeah, absolutely massive. So if we identify states as you've got life enhancing and enabling states like confidence, love, inner strength, joy, calmness, and so on, that empower us and help us to achieve more, be more, do more, and be happier in our lives. And then you've got states like confusion, depression, fear, anxiety, sadness, frustration, boredom, and so on, that generally either paralyze us or certainly contribute to us making very poor decisions in our lives. And the interesting thing to recognize is that most of our states happen without any real conscious direction on our part. For most people, we see something happen and we just respond just by going into a state, and it might be a useful state or not, but there's not much that most of us do to control it. So this is something that needs to change if you want to achieve more in your life and be more and have more success. Is that the difference between people who achieve their goals and those who fail is the difference between people who are able to put themselves in supportive states that support themselves, their goals, the type of person that they want to become and the type of life that they want to lead, and those who are unable to do so and that just allow their states and their feelings and their emotions to be directed by the whims of life and circumstance and other people. So one of the things that a lot of people learn, and I alluded to this earlier, is that they learn that they can change their state biochemically, and you can do this by eating food, you can drink alcohol, you can smoke a cigarette, and people have learned that doing these things and engaging in these external means will change their state. It changes how they feel. It is obviously a temporary band-aid solution, but if they haven't got any other alternatives to turn to, then obviously they're the ones that they're going to go for. And what you'll notice is that people that are stuck in those kinds of patterns, let's take somebody that uses food as a means of getting out of upsetting states, and they use food for comfort, for example. They are very certain and they know that food is always there for them. It's reliable, it's consistent, it works every single time. And obviously, it might not fix the solution long term, but as a very short term solution for getting out of an unpleasant situation, they know at an unconscious level it's reliable. So, what we need to do is we need to train people to be able to do this by themselves. Most people don't realize that you can change your state immediately at the drop of a hat whenever you want to and whenever you need to, purely by taking control of some key fundamental things that influence your state and how you feel in any given moment. And these are things that we are in control of ourselves, because how else would you explain that two people can undergo the same traumatic experience, and one person can maintain a very positive and forward-thinking state, and the other person descends into a pit of misery? What's the difference between the two? And the difference is what they do internally in terms of their focus, the way they manipulate their internal thoughts, their internal representational systems, the way they attach meanings to things, and the way they use their physiology. Those are the key things that we need to train people to use in order to be able to take control of their state. And once they're able to do that, their ability to remain compliant and consistent on a fat loss program, as an example, or any physique transformation program, goes through the roof, because now they don't need to rely and depend on other people, other things, external means as a way of keeping themselves on track.
And I'll give you an example here, and this is a common one. I consult with a lot of ladies who say to me, "Oh, God, I have such a stressful job, or the kids are stressing me out, and I'll come home from work, or I'll come home, with the kids after school, and the first thing I do is go to the fridge, and next thing I know, I've mindlessly eaten a whole tub of yogurt, or I've eaten so much, and I can't remember doing it." And you're doing that to basically change your state. So part of what we do in the Chase Life program is actually teach you to identify yourself in the pit. So something that is not a life enhancing state. So we get you to identify that first. And so that in order for you to change it, so you can actually stop that behavior of, your usual going to the fridge to change your state. We actually get you to do it, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I actually had a client who fits this example really well. She was in the habit of using food to comfort herself. So she went to visit a friend in hospital, and a friend was ill. And when she went up to see her friend and she saw her on the hospital bed, she got very upset, obviously. So she got so upset that she had to remove herself from the situation, found herself down in the canteen, and just mindlessly getting food out the vending machine and stuffing the food in her face. And this is purely because she found herself in a very upsetting situation. She didn't know what to do or how to do it. She felt very powerless, very helpless, and unable to help her friend, and she didn't know what to do. So she just went back to her default. So it's interesting to recognize what's going on. Firstly, she's in an unpleasant state, so she's feeling emotional pain, and her brain wants to get her out of that state, and it wants to do that as fast and reliably as it possibly can. Her brain knows that food works in this kind of situation, but what we end up in is we don't end up where she wants to be, we just end up away from pain. So again, we're talking about what do you want versus what do you not want, the first thing we talked about today. So she's trying to escape the emotional pain, and she basically temporarily ends up in a neutral state where she kind of numbs herself for a little bit. And the pain dissipates for a short while she's focused on the eating. But then inevitably it comes back with a vengeance, and it's compounded with feelings of guilt and so on. So what we had to do, first of all, was give her a target to head towards. And what she actually ended up identifying was she wanted to be there for her friend. She wanted to show strength for her friend. She wanted to create a state of calmness and love and inner strength, so that she could actually be there for her friend. And because the strategy she was using wasn't helping anybody, wasn't helping a friend, and it wasn't helping herself. So instead, by getting her to manage her state and for her to be able to create the states of calmness and love and inner strength, she was able to go back to the bedside and to be actually spend time there with her friend, demonstrating her love for her. And basically, everybody wins. Everybody is better off when we're able to manage our states in these ways.
And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So unless you've been taught actually how to do that, and you have then the resources available to change your state, it's very difficult to get yourself out of a situation when you haven't been coached, and you're not aware of that.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the most important things, I think, with coaching, is that the whole point about your unconscious mind is that it is unconscious. You're not consciously aware of it. So you're doing things, you're engaged in destructive patterns of thought and behavior that you don't even know that you're doing. And it takes a coach to be able to spot those, identify them, point them out in you, so that you can change them, and crucially to train you how to do things differently and how to get a different result.
Awesome. And so your life is out of balance. Now, I'm going to flip this on its head, because this is not necessarily just about weight loss. I've dealt with some, let's just talk about bikini and figure girls, for example. Even though I don't prep girls for shows anymore, I actually have a lot of ex-figure competitors and ex-bikini models who are seeking more balance in their lives. They've spent perhaps years on very restricted calorie diets, obsessively training, doing a lot of cardio, and they're not happy. So they might be in great shape. So on the outside, they're visually they look fantastic, but on the inside, they're desperate for help. And so having your life in balance is so important. And here's the thing: it's not hard. It's really not that hard. And I think a lot of women massively overanalyze, the process of being in shape. And the reality is it's very easy to maintain a fantastic physique year round once you've got all of your systems in place and you've got your life in balance. You get up in the morning, you go to the gym if you train in the morning. Your food prep is just part of what you do, and it's something that you prioritize if you value that area of your life. And I'm not just talking about fat loss here, I'm talking about health as well. And relationships. So your relationship with your husband, your boyfriend, your significant other, whatever it is, and your relationship with your family. So let's talk about, I see it all the time. People's lives are so out of balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned that fat loss and creating the body that you want is easy, and it is easy. However, it takes time. And I know this is something that you reference quite a lot, is that you've built your figure over years, and it's taken years to get there. And I think one of the mistakes people make is that they are inevitably very short-term focused, and they want it yesterday. And when it doesn't happen yesterday, they get impatient and they go and try something else. And they don't stay the course. They don't stick with the program for the full duration, because they're constantly looking for the next best thing, the next faster thing or easier thing. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But that actually does tie in with this concept of balance, because what people really need to do is they need to create a big picture vision for the life they want to create long term, and that encompasses all of the key areas of their life. So there's kind of the three big things: so health, wealth, and love, that needs to be that need to be addressed. But what are the key, most important things in your life that you want to make sure that you nail and you get right? So this might be relationship goals, career goals, financial goals, physical goals in terms of perhaps aesthetic goals, as well as health or performance goals. You might have recreational goals. You might have spiritual goals. So there are lots of things that you want to achieve in your life. Your entire sense of self and your entire identity is not defined by getting shredded and getting on stage, though it may certainly feel that way for some people at certain times in their life. But you're not going to spend your entire life only thinking about and only ever doing and pursuing your physical goals, because if you did that, then everything would fall apart and you wouldn't be able to achieve your physical goals anyway. A good analogy that resonates with a lot of people is most people know somebody, perhaps even themselves, who has dedicated 100% of their effort and energy and attention to their career. And they've really chased it hard and they've pursued it and they've achieved amazing things in their career. And then all of a sudden, their relationships break down, they're getting divorced, their health breaks down, they're getting diagnosed with all kinds of, perhaps cardiovascular illness and so on. And everything else in their life falls apart because they've neglected it. So this happens when people don't achieve that sense of balance. So it's important to recognize how all of these key areas are actually interdependent. They depend on each other for each individual one to survive and to be achieved long term. You won't achieve your physical goals if you don't get your relationship on track. If your relationship is all over the place, then at some point you're going to break because the anxiety it creates and the stress and problems that it creates will start to spill over into the other areas of your life. And inevitably, life, shit happens. Okay, so things can go wrong. Somebody comes down with an illness, or perhaps
you get injured.
Yeah, you get injured. There's a family crisis or emergency that needs resolving. So there will be times when you need to devote more energy to one particular area than the others, and this is life. But it's important that we, over the long term, pursue this state of balance, because if we neglect anything for too long, it inevitably deteriorates, and eventually it will deteriorate to the point where it affects everything else as well. So achieving that sense of balance is absolutely critical. A lot of people don't think about relationships directly affecting their physical goals, but they can.
And that's not just relationships with your partner or your husband or your significant other. This is, you have to look at the type of people that you're spending the most time with. The reality is that you are you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So, if you're finding yourself surrounded by negative people, then it makes it very, very difficult for you to chase life. So you really need to be considering who you're spending your time with and being very ruthless actually with who you're sharing your time with,
and not just your relationship with those key people, but also your relationship with your family and your relationship with yourself.
Yeah, most importantly.
A question that we ask a lot of the people in our program is, if you spoke to your friends the way that you speak to yourself, would you have any? And for a lot of people, unfortunately, the answer is no. They are treating themselves inside their own minds very, very poorly, and inevitably, that's never going to be conducive to a healthy body or mind.
Absolutely. And I guess, to sum everything up, David and I are completely passionate about making people happy. And as cliche and as cheesy as that sounds, that's what it's all about, is being happy. Because why do we embark on a fat loss journey in the first place? And it's because you think it's going to make you happy. And there is so much more towards it. So I hope that's just kind of, I guess, everything that we talked about today has just sort of just scratched the surface. So if this information has helped you, then please do share it with a friend. Help us spread the love, because particularly with Athletic Fox, my goal is to change the lives of 1 million women, and I can't do that by myself, and I really need your help to do that. And so, if what we've talked about also resonates with you, then you can apply to the Chase Life course that we run, and that's essentially to build your confidence and get your shit together. And Chase Life, we actually designed it, and it's built for professional and driven women and busy mums between the ages of 30 to 42. If you wanted to apply, if you are outside of that age range, that's fine. I'm just being a little bit more specific because a lot of the issues that we've identified are between those age ranges. But essentially, we're looking for people who genuinely want to invest in themselves for a better life, body, and a career. And look, Chase Life does come with a significant time and financial investment, in addition to being a pretty confronting upheaval if you are actually accepted into the course. So one of the things that we talk about in the call, and to see when I get on the phone with you and to see if you're suitable for the course, is that you must be open to feedback. And sometimes you might not like what we're going to tell you. But the truth is that we will tell you what to do to create a better life. And all you need to do is go away, do the work, and implement. So, however, having said all of that, Chase Life is an extremely life-changing, confidence-boosting, and a truly phenomenal turnaround for those who seek change and transformation. So, if you did want to have a chat and you did want to apply, please do send me an email, rachel@aestheticfox.com. That's RACHEL at aestheticfox.com. And I'd love to have a chat with you and see if we can help you. But I hope this information was useful to you. Thank you, David, for your time.
My pleasure.
And if there's any other questions that you want us to answer, please do tag us in the Aesthetic Fox forum, or you can email me back if you've seen this recording on email, or you can write a comment on the video. But thank you for listening, and I hope this has been helpful.